Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to have a look at another collaboration beer. So this one is 2/3 English and 1/3 Scottish. It's one of the English breweries that's the home brewery in this case. All three of these breweries have featured on the channel numerous times before, and I've had very nice beers from all of them in the past. And the one that we're going to have a look at today is a style that I know all of these breweries are capable of doing very well. But it's also a beer that seems to be a recent supermarket release here in Scotland. So I thought, well, why not? Let's check this one out and see how we go. So very curious to see how this one turns out. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review. And as always, I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one. So yeah, for this review then, for the home brewery, we are going to head down to Leeds in Yorkshire. And we're going to have a look at another beer from Northern Monk. So this particular beer is called North versus South. It comes in at 7% ABV. It's a New England hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA. And it's brewed in collaboration with Raptor Brewing Co, who are from Nottingham, home to the legendary Raggy, of course, and Overtone Brewing Company from Glasgow in my motherland of Scotland. So yeah, I just came across this one in my local Tesco and I thought, well, I really should check this out and see what it's all about. So very curious to see what it has in store for us. I have heard good things about this one, so let's crack on and see how we go. So as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about all the breweries involved here before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from all three of these breweries before, and we will no doubt add more to all of those lists in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you and the Scottish beers. This one will appear in both of those because it is dual nationality. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then to tell you a little bit about the breweries, and we'll begin with Northern Monk since they are the home brewery in this case. So Northern Monk, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Leeds in Yorkshire in the north of England, and they were founded back in 2013 by Russell Bissett. So he started brewing in his mum's basement, and then he launched the company officially at the Sparrow Beer Cafe in Bradford. But in August of 2014 they moved into the old Flax store in the city of Leeds at Marshall's Mill, and they've been working to expand their capacity there ever since. So they say that they like to pay homage to the old monastic brew that went on in England for centuries, but these days it is of course largely overlooked. There is one English Trappist brewery these days, but of course when everyone thinks about monks brewing beer, it tends to be Belgium and the Trappist breweries that come to mind. But yeah, it's kind of cool that they went for this mantra actually, and I hope they do brew a few more Belgian beers, kind of Belgian Abbey style beers I should say, at some point in the future. But at the brewery they have their refectory, which is basically their bar and restaurant, and that is somewhere that I am hoping to visit on my England tour, which will be later this year. But they've also got their Patrons project, which you'll see all over the place. This is where they team up with other breweries for collaborations, but also local restaurants and artists and things like this, and you can get some very interesting beers in that. But their main brewing operations these days take place in the refectory on Sydenham Road in Leeds, which has a total capacity of 24,000 hectolitres, but they recently launched a new project which is called the OFS project, which is where they're brewing very small batch beers at the original brewery in the old Flax store, hence OFS project. But these days they've also got another refectory in Manchester, which is supposed to be very nice, but I will of course, if I'm going to do an out and about video, I will try and film one. I will make sure I do it at the one in Leeds because that is the original. As I like to say, original tends to be best. But the current head brewer is Adam Lyle, and they have produced 150 different kinds of beer according to Untappd as of March 2022. But I think it's fair to say that these days they are best known for their different kinds of IPAs. But yeah, we've had many nice beers from Northern Monk over the years, and if you are interested in English craft beer, Northern Monk are one of the ones that you definitely need to check out. But yeah, that's all I can tell you about them for the moment. As always, if you want to learn more, check out the brewery website, follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Untappd page to learn more about all those different beers. So let's go a little bit further south in England to Raggy County. So this time we are going to go to Nottingham and have a little look at Neon Raptor. So Neon Raptor are originally from Derby, but they're now based in Nottingham, and the company started out as the homebrewing experimentations of Adam Henderson. So he had participated in and won Brewdog's local homebrewing competition back in 2015, and then a year later he joined forces with Tom Ainsley and Josh Meller, both former postmen, and they started up the company together officially. So the name Neon Raptor is apparently taken from Adam's hypothetical glam rock band. They had originally gone with the name Neon Tiger, but this was apparently a little bit too close to a well-known beer brand. I'm guessing it might be Tiger beer from Singapore. But initially, these guys started off as a gypsy brewery, and they were brewing small batches of 300 litres in early 2016. But the following year, in 2017, they started producing using a 1,000 litre kit in Burton-upon-Trent. But they started producing in Sneinton Market in Nottingham in 2018, and then they opened a tap room on site in June of that year. But since then, they've been expanding the infrastructure of the brewery with more tanks and all of this kind of thing, and doing a little bit of experimentations with barrel aging and sour beers and all of this as well. And as of March 2022, when we're filming this review for you, these guys have produced 190 different kinds of beer, according to Untappd. But yeah, that is all I can tell you about Neon Raptor Brewing. Of course, if you want to learn a little bit more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram, and as always, you can check out the Untappd for details on all the different beers. Or if you want to see them reviewed regularly, do check out my friend Raggy over at Raggy's Beers, Wines and Spirits Reviews. I'll try to remember to put the link to his channel in the video description for you below. But he's an absolute legend, and you do need to go and check out his channel. Lovely guy. But yeah, let's go on and have a little look at the Scottish side of things then. So we are going to cross the border to my motherland of Scotland. So Overtone Brewing this time then. Overtone Brewing, as I've told you many a time before, are based in Glasgow, and the company was founded back in 2017 by Bo Wei Wang, who is originally from Beijing in China. But he'd been a home brewer for a number of years before he founded the brewery, and the name Overtone comes from his love of techno music. So Bo Wei hired Dan Miller, who's from New Hampshire in the northeast of America, New England, to come in as his head brewer. He had previously worked as a head chef, but had also worked as a brewer in England, New York, and in Scotland. In Scotland, he was working for 6 Degrees North, who are a lovely Belgian-style brewery mainly, but they are brewing a lot of different styles these days as well. But also involved in the brewing team is Martin Conahan, who worked in the beer scene in New Zealand for a good number of years, and he does a lot of other things around the brewery as well, from what I understand. They do have Charlie working with them as well, so the brew team has grown a little bit at Overtone Brewing. But the brewery itself can be found in the New Albion Industrial Estate in Yorkshire near Renfrew and Clydebank, and they began operations there back in 2018. But over the years, they've just developed lots and lots of different beers. They don't have a fixed range, and they're always brewing new things. You'll find a good maybe 4 or 5 different beers released from them at least per month. And as of March 2022, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced over 60 different kinds of beer, according to Untappd. I think it is fair to say that they are best known for their different New England hazy IPAs, and indeed they were the first brewery in Scotland to open up with this style as their kind of flagship style, I guess we could say. But I've had West Coast IPAs from them, I've had some very nice Imperial Stouts, and they are starting to do some sour beers as well, so I do need to make sure that I check out some of those sour beers at some point in the fairly near future, because they are supposed to be pretty good. But yeah, mainly known for their IPAs, and if you do get the chance to try one of their West Coasters, I highly recommend those. I hope they do more of them in the future actually, and I'd love to see a black IPA as well. But yeah, that's all I can tell you about Overtone Brewing Company for the moment, and that concludes your history of the breweries, of course. But if you want to learn more about Overtone, check out the brewery website, follow them on the different social medias, and you can of course check out the Untappd page to learn more about all those different beers as well. But yeah, let's crack on then and actually have a look at the beer itself. We managed to get through that history section fairly quickly actually. I was a bit concerned about that when we had 3 breweries in it before. But yeah, as you can see, the artwork on this one is pretty nice. I think that's meant to be just an old factory in the kind of countryside there. It is pretty cool actually. But there you can see it, Northern Monk in the middle, Neon Raptor on that side, and then Overtone Brewing Company there. But yeah, lovely artwork on this one, and there you can see it, North versus South. I think that is actually the name of this beer, the North versus South collaboration it's called. But yeah, it comes in at 7% ABV, and this is another New England hazy IPA. It says on the back here, Leeds Northern Monk team up with Glasgow's Overtone and Nottingham's Neon Raptor to form the North tag team against some of the finest breweries the South has to offer. So combining their shared passion for all things hoppy, the Northern powerhouse are represented by a double dry hop IPA packed full of Citra and Citra plus Strata, Idaho 7 and El Dorado for a sweet, zesty and citrus, juicy tropical fruit and a dank bitterness. So yeah, this should be quite cool. But yeah, we know all of these hops quite well. Citra, in fact all of them are American. Citra about 14% alpha acid, lovely big kind of mango-y notes to it, and also quite a big limey zesty character. Strata is a slightly newer hop which has that kind of it has that kind of lovely pink grapefruity note to it as well, and it can sometimes give you a wee bit of kind of strawberry note if I remember rightly. Idaho 7 is a very popular one as well, about 14% alpha acid. I always find it gives you that very soft kind of apricot-y papaya type fruity character. And then of course El Dorado is a little bit of an older hop, about 12% alpha acid, known mainly for its big juicy passion fruit and mango qualities. But yeah, I do like how this one goes together actually. It looks very nice, and it's a black top on the can as well, which is a nice kind of classy touch. But yeah, I believe I paid £3.50 for this can, so that translates to roughly, what, about €4.25, something like that. So somewhere in the region of like 42, 45 Swedish kroner, something like this. And then maybe in the region of about $5 American, which is pretty decent for a can of a good IPA. And with these three breweries, you are pretty much guaranteed to get a good IPA. So I wouldn't worry about that if I was you. But yeah, let's crack this guy open and see how we get on. The North versus South collaboration. Let's do this. Yeah, I need this one. I've not had it feels actually like a wee while since I had a New England IPA, come to think of it. When I've been home in Scotland this time, I haven't really been doing that, because normally I would go and get a couple of beers from Overtone. Yeah, normally I would go and get a couple of beers from Overtone, and maybe I might get one from like Tempest or Cromarty or something like that as well. But I haven't actually bought so many craft beers when I've been home in Scotland this time, because I had quite a few still to work my way through. So yeah, anyway, there we go. So as you can see, this beer has poured very nicely and pretty much as you would expect from a New England IPA. So you can see there is about a solid 3/4 finger of a frothy, I would say, I think that's a perfect white head that's on this one, but you can see there are a mix of kind of small and big bubbles in this one. So it's a little bit of a bumpy head as well. But yeah, on the colour of the beer itself, I think it looks pretty nice. So to the naked eye, it actually appears like quite a nice sort of pale yellow, but I think to you guys on the camera, it's appearing like a very, very rich, bright yellow colour. But to me, it's kind of just like a mango juice. I always like comparing the colour of these New England IPAs to different fruit juices, because that's just what the appearance reminds me of. But yeah, it does look does kind of look as you would expect, to be honest with you. So remember, the colour depends on the type of malts that you use, the length of your wort boil, any barrel aging that you do, and any adjuncts that you put in. And the level of haze in these New England IPAs depends on the oak content, wheat content, and to a degree the yeast strain that you're using. So if I put my hand behind this glass, the glass here, you can see the true colour of it, and it is pretty damn opaque. But yeah, there's no real rule about you know, how much oat and wheat and stuff you put in the beer. And how hazy that makes, or you know, the alcohol percentage, I should say. It varies from brewery to brewery and recipe to recipe, of course. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, let's take a closer look at the nose on this one then and see how we go. I don't think we need to say anything else about the appearance of this beer. So aroma time then, let's do it. Oh yeah, that smells pretty nice, I have to say. Pretty much as you'd expect. So my first impression of this one is that it's quite a soft, bready leaning New England IPA. It does smell as if it is kind of getting toward the end of its prime. It is a supermarket beer, so that's one of the things you have to be aware of. Sometimes these beers will sit for a little while in the supermarket, so you're maybe not going to get them at their freshest. And I think this one, you can tell that a little bit with it, because you're starting to smell that slightly dry, powdery, oaty kind of thing out of it. But it still smells pretty good. Got a lovely kind of quite bright green component to it as well. And I am thinking it's got a bit of a soft tropical backbone, but it's also giving you some nice big zesty character in there. So it's got a little bit of everything, this one, actually. If I was smelling this blind, I would potentially think this is a more kind of, I would probably think this was like a session IPA. It's got a little bit of that kind of bitey, zippy sort of thing that you'd get from something that's a little bit lower alcohol, you know, sort of 4 or 5% session IPA, something like that. The aroma of this one does remind me of that a little bit, actually. But yeah, very nice smelling beer. Let's break the aroma down for you though and describe it a wee bit more in depth. So, backbone of the beer then. You do get a lovely little bit of kind of bread crust coming out of this one. You can smell that, but straight away there's a lot of kind of smooth and quite dense white bread, actually. For me, this beer also has quite a little bit of wheaty bitiness to it. You can smell that in the back of the nose when you take the aroma in, like very deeply like this. You can smell a lovely little bit of that wheaty bitiness. And again, that's one of the things that really made me say that this beer is a little bit more like a kind of session IPA, because quite often they will use the wheat just to give the beer a little bit of zip in the session IPAs, so that they just have a wee bit of snap to them, which I do quite like, actually. Been very impressed with some of the lower ABV IPAs that I've had in recent times, actually, although it now feels like a few months since we've had one like that, come to think of it. But yeah, so yeah, a little bit of bread crust in this one. Lovely kind of quite dense white bread character, which I'm guessing comes from the barley malt, but the wheat is helping that, of course. Bit of wheaty bitiness in the back of the nose too, and you can smell quite a dry but slightly sweet oaty character from this one. And as I've said to you before, when you get that slightly more dry, powdery oaty character out of the beer, that tells you that it's not quite in its prime. This is just getting toward the edge of its prime, because you can still smell the remnants of the more creamy side of the oats in this one. I do get a little tiny touch of kind of sweetness out of this one, like a little bit of a Werther's Original sort of thing. But yeah, not overly much, if you like. But as I've said to you, for me, there's 6 elements you need to care about in a New England IPA. You can get the kind of farmhousey, yeasty character, the rye leaning grainy sort of things. The New England IPAs that lean towards that are more common in America, but you've also got wheaty bitiness, oaty creaminess, barley malt bread, and then you can also get a bit of sweetness in them as well. These are the 6 elements that I think you need to look for in a New England IPA. And this one, quite often they will show characteristics of all of those 6, but for me this is quite a bready and wheaty leaning one rather than anything else. But yeah, that covers the malty side of things. Let's take a wee look at the hoppy and fruity side of the aroma. So for me, it's got a teeny little bit of earthiness to it, but not a lot. The green component for me really leans toward the more kind of floral and aromatic side of things. So yeah, I'm getting quite a little bit of floral aromaticity out of this beer, which I do have to say I do quite enjoy, actually. I've got a lovely kind of floral aromatic vibe out of this one, but you have to remember with these beers as well, a lot of New England IPAs rely on late addition hopping and dry hopping, which don't give you a lot, don't give you such a deep green component, we should say. That's really reserved for early addition hopping, which is used more commonly in West Coast IPAs. That, of course, gives you all the bitterness. Late addition hopping gives you a little bit of bitterness and mainly flavour and aroma, and then dry hopping is completely flavour and aroma. So yeah, I always find with New England IPAs, they smell a bit brighter, not necessarily as kind of deep and dank as the West Coast IPAs do. So yeah, for me, this one has a nice kind of bright floral aromatic character to it, but I'm also getting quite a bit of zesty grassiness in there, and considering that there's citra in this beer, that's not really a surprise, to be honest with you. Yeah, the green component that comes out of this one, I think, is very, very nice. So yeah, I like this. I do like how this goes together on that side of things. On the fruity side of the beer, for me, it is the backbone of it. It's got a wee bit of that kind of pungent passion fruit to it, but I get a lot of juicy mango. That's both of those are going to come from the they're both going to come from the Eldorado and the Citra, I would say. But I think the Idaho 7's kind of smoothing it out a little bit. You certainly get wee bits of apricot and a wee touch of papaya and things like that in there. So yeah, those 3 hops are kind of teaming up to give you that, and it actually really does lean toward that kind of softer side of the tropical things. But the more that I smell it as well, on the top of the nose, I start to get a wee bit of that more pungent, passion fruity sort of thing. And I think that's maybe the strata that's contributing to that. But in fairness, I also do get a little bit of like a kind of light, very, very light, juicy strawberry. That's the strata that's giving you that. Strata gives you the bit of the pink grapefruit, and I don't get so much of that, but I do get a little bit more of the kind of light strawberry character out of it, I have to say. But at the same time, you certainly get a wee bit of that typical lemon limey kind of thing that you get from Citra. That's the Citra's trait for me, is the kind of mango, but also that lemon limey citrusy quality. You can really, really get that out of this one. But yeah, the aroma of this beer, I think, is very, very nice. I can feel my voice going a little bit. There we go. So yeah, as I always say, take a little bit of time to just enjoy the aroma of this one before you get stuck into it. It smells very nice, but it's certainly, if I was smelling it blind, I would probably think this was a lower alcohol session IPA. But yeah, this one is the North versus South collaboration, north side of things, from Northern Monk Brewery in collaboration with Neon Raptor and Overtone. I had to think there, but a 7% New England hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA. Let's get stuck into this one and see how we go. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Yeah, that's pretty damn solid, I have to say. Wouldn't really expect anything less, to be quite honest with you. I wouldn't expect anything less from this brewery. Actually, I think they've done a solid job on this one. So yeah, I do like how that goes together. I will say it does. Is it the best beer that I've had from any of the three of these breweries? Maybe not. Definitely not. I would say I've had better beers from all three of these breweries. But is it solid and nice and drinkable? Yeah. And I mean, for a supermarket beer as well, that is the thing. These supermarket beers do tend to be like that. They're maybe not the most kind of crazy beers that these guys will do, but they always tend to be like solid, easy drinkers. And you can't ask for much more than that. So this one fulfills the purpose that it's intended for. So I like that. I do like that. Hopefully I see the South at some point and I can maybe have a taste of that and see what it's all about. But this one certainly is very nice in that sense. So, yeah, where to start with this one then? First impression of it. Absolutely, it's quite a bready leaning New England IPA, this one. Got a good bit of tropical note to it, but you do get a wee bit more citrusy side to it. And again, the green component is quite floral. So yeah, I do like how this one goes about its business in this regard. So thumbs up from me. But let's break the flavour down for you and describe it a wee bit more in depth. So backbone of the beer, middle third of the palate. Let's look at that. So for me, I would say this one it's quite a straight shooting malt base. I mean, at the backbone of the beer, you get a lovely little bit of bread crust in there. You can feel that's like a fresh white bread sort of thing. It almost tastes as if it has a wee bit of the flour left on it. So you do get that. On top of that, though, you do get a little bit of a kind of almost like a kind of crispy. It's almost like a kind of crisp white bready character that you get out of this one. That'll be from the barley malt, but then on top of that, you can feel the wheat. And I think the wheat has a little bit of zip to it in this one. So yeah, you've got bread crust, a kind of light but airy and almost slightly crispy white bread in there from the barley malt. Then you can feel the wheat, and as I say, the wheat gives you that little bit of the wheat just gives you that little bit of zip to the beer, actually, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, I like that. This actually reminds me of some of the New England IPAs I was drinking back in sort of 2015. You know, the Stigbergets, Amazing Haze, the OO Brewing, the Rangi and things. Just when the New England IPA arrived in Sweden, of course. This one's a little bit like that, but as I say, it does have a wee bit of that more session IPA zip to it. That thing I was picking up in the aroma really does carry into the flavour. But yeah, let's look at the oaty side of things then, because the oats are sitting on top of that wheaty part of the beer. So yeah, the oaty side of the beer, I think it does still show you a little bit of the creaminess, but as I was saying earlier, oats are always an indicator of how old your New England IPA is. And this one, it has a wee bit of the smoothness, but you can get some of that more powdery dryness out of it. So when you go down the middle line of your palate in that middle third of your tongue, you can feel that it just gets a bit drier as you go out toward the edge of the palate there. And that's showing you this one. I think this has maybe been in the can about 2-3 months, maybe something like that. Maybe nearer 2 months, to be honest. It feels okay. But yeah, in the dead centre of your palate, you get a tiny little circle there, and I think you get a wee touch of like a Werther's Original butter candy sort of thing. There's maybe 1 or 2 little biscuity elements the further out from that you go, but that sits on top of the oat. Maybe I think this one probably has a little bit of Golden Promise in it. Going by the flavour, I think it's a little bit of Golden Promise malt that's in there. But yeah, I think that covers the middle third of the palate. This is a little bit of an old school, kind of more bready leaning New England IPA for sure. But yeah, let's look at the back third of the palate then. So the border region between middle third and back third of your palate, you get a little bit of that bready build up again that you always do in the borderlands. But then yeah, as you go into the back third of the palate, you can feel the bread crusty layer gets a little bit more grainy and things. You can feel the barley malt, the kind of airy white bready layer, that gets a bit thicker. But you also start to get a little bit of the bite and the zip from the wheat, of course. And then on top of that, you've just got a little bit of a kind of yeasty character as well. So yeah. Yeah, the yeasty side of things, for me, the yeasty part of this beer, it doesn't feel overly dense, but you do get a little bit more of a slightly more dense, white bready, doughy, yeasty character out of this one, which I do quite enjoy. And then it's got a wee bit more of a kind of like a brown bready bread crust to it actually, so you can feel that just sitting on top of the wheaty layer on the back of the on the top of that back third of the palate there. But yeah, the wheaty bitiness comes out a wee bit more as well. So yeah, I do like how that goes together. So on the back third of the palate then, we can definitely say that the malty yeasty flavour is a little bit taller, and then as you come further forward, it just condenses down a wee bit and the flavour just squashes together. But this is a common thing in the beers these days. But yeah, from the malty side of things, I think this beer is a little bit more like a kind of old school, one of the more bready leaning New England IPAs. I really think they've got sweeter and creamier as the years have gone on. But I like it. It's nice, solid, easy drinking, can't ask for much more. Let's look at the hoppy side of the beer then. Back corners of the palate for me, a wee bit of earthiness, not a lot. But as you move further forward, this one quite quickly gets floral, but the intensity of the floral flavours gets a little bit more the further forward. It gets a little bit bigger the further forward you come, and it does have a wee bit of zip as you reach the front corners of the palate. Round the front curve of the palate though, it's definitely a little bit lighter and grassy, and I would say more kind of zesty on the grassy side of things as well. So I do like how that goes together in this one. But yeah, the green component of this one is quite nice, and it does, I would say, it leans towards that grassy sort of thing. But let's look at the fruity side of the beer and the front third of your palate. So border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get a little bit of a bready build up there, which I do really like. So a little bit of a bready build up. Base of the front third of your palate is a little bit of a more kind of smooth white bread and oaty sort of thing. You can feel this kind of smoothness of the oats there coming out a little bit. But remember, sweeter flavours come out further forward on the palate, more bitter ones come out further back. But yeah, sitting on top of that, you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. And for this one, I would say at the back of that front third of your palate, you're getting that more intense kind of citrusy tropical fruit. You do get a bit of the grapefruit, both from the citra, you can feel the darker grapefruit underneath, but you do get a bit of the brighter kind of pink grapefruit from the strata. I wasn't really picking that up in the aroma, but you can certainly get it in the flavour. It sits on top, so you've got this deep, darker grapefruit character there, but also the bright pink, the kind of more bright pink grapefruit in there as well, which is interesting. But as you move further forward from that, you do get a wee bit of passion fruit, but I think the passion fruit kind of takes a bit of a back seat, and Citra, Citra, Idaho 7 and Eldorado, all the three of these hops are capable of giving you that, but very quickly for me it moves toward being a more mango-y note. I would say you do get a soft mango, and as you move into the kind of front half of that front third of your palate, you start to get the soft apricot and papaya type notes out of this beer as well. So yeah, you get that really soft side. The Idaho 7 I think is showing you a lot of this too. So I think the Strata, the Citra and the El Dorado are kind of doing their job a little bit further back, but as you come forward it's the Idaho 7 that's really showing its face a bit more. But just before you reach the very front tip of the tongue, you do get a little bit of that lemony, I'd say it's more of a lemony zest that you get out of this one, and that's the Citra. It's the Citra that's going to give you that, and that kind of blends in a little bit. That does blend in a little bit with the kind of the grassy side of the green component there. But yeah, again, I do like how that goes together in this one. I do apologise for the vibration there. I've obviously forgot to put my phone on flight mode before I've filmed this video, but the camera's supposed to stop. The camera app is supposed to stop that actually, which is kind of annoying. So yeah, anyway, my apologies for that. But yeah, the flavour of this one is really nice. I think if we talk about the fruits, I would say, yeah, overall, I would say the fruity side of this one is, I thought it was, the aroma leaned a little bit more towards the soft tropical side of things, but in the flavour it actually is a bit more 50-50. You do get the pungency of the citrusy zest and the grapefruit and things kind of sit there and linger there a little bit, but you do at the same time, it's like a little circle on the front of your palate. You can feel the grapefruit and stuff here, the lemony citrus at the front, then the softer tropical fruits just sit inside it. It's kind of interesting that. But yeah, this is a very nice New England IPA. I like this one. It's grown on me the more that I've drank of it. So yeah, I like it. I like it. So let's round off with a look at the mouthfeel then. So yeah, mouthfeel wise, I think this one's pretty much right in the middle of the spectrum, mid-bodied. Carbonation is very, very smooth. This beer does have a little bit of that creaminess to it, but it's also got a nice kind of light mouthfeel. It has got a very nice light mouthfeel in a sense. But yeah, I think it works. I do think it works very, very nicely. Yeah. On the, as I said earlier, on the IBU side of things, I think this is a fairly standard 30, maybe 35 IBU beer. It does have a wee bit of bitterness to it that comes out a bit more in the aftertaste, but this isn't going to blow the head off you in terms of IBUs, by no means is it going to do that. But yeah, the malt base, as we said, it's quite bready, this one. There's not a lot of sweetness to it, I would say, and the fruity side of the beer, it's got a good little bit of kind of citrusy zest to it as well, but you've got that softer, smooth, kind of tropical side of things going on too. So yeah, I do like how this beer goes about its business in that particular regard. So yeah, you'll enjoy this one if you get the chance to try it, but let's leave it at that. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Northern Monk, Neon Raptor and Overtone Brewery in the comment section below as well. And I'm sure I'll catch you again with more reviews from all three of these breweries. But yeah, this one was the North edition of the North and South collaboration from Northern Monk in Leeds, Neon Raptor in Nottingham, and then Overtone in Glasgow in Scotland. But yeah, really nice beer, this one. Check out my social media, check out the brewery's social media, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Check out this beer if you get the chance. Slàinte, skål, and cheers.